Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm Chief Dean Rondeau with the Wolfeboro Police Department, and to my left is my trusty executive officer, Captain Mark Livy. And welcome to another segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief. And on this rainy day, we're in the month of April, and the ice is quickly receding. And so if you've been paying attention to the news, you saw last month in March, toward the middle of the month, we had a vehicle crash through the ice over in Wolfeboro, and 70-year-old gentleman succumbed to his injuries. And they were out on the lake checking the thickness, according to the news reports. And this gets to a point that I want to make here right now. In the springtime, the ice gets thin. It gets thin real quick. And even though it may seem cool or cold at night, the ice is thinning and it's warming. And that ice is just not thick enough to support the weight of humans, let alone motor vehicles. So please, when you go out ice fishing, pay attention to the weather. And in the month of February, you probably need to look at getting your gear off the bodies of water, because the lakes do warm up very quickly. The bodies of water warm up very quickly, and it's very dangerous. Cold water entry is very, very dangerous. It can cause a shock to the body. The month of April, you saw the Wolfeboro Police Department take part in the Polar Plunge to raise money for the New Hampshire Special Olympics. And I don't want to be hypocritical here when I say this. So yes, 9 of us do jump in the very cold waters of Lake Winnipesaukee. However, let's talk about what we do to mitigate that, right? We have Eastern Propane and Oil with their warming trailer and with their patio heaters, and they raise the ambient temperature so the dippers have a place to come back to and warm up. We have blankets. We have rescue swimmers in the water. We have ladders on the docks. We're not very far away from the dock. We can get out of the water very quickly. We have medical aid stations set up where we check all of the dippers before they go into water to make sure that their blood pressure is appropriate for the athletic event they're about to participate in. So what we're doing is we're mitigating risks. We look at the risk, we mitigate those risks, and then we proceed with an operations plan. Everything we do is built around safety. So again, learn from us. If you're going to be out on the lake, out on the water, make sure you have a plan. Make sure you're taking precautions. Make sure you identify those risks and you take steps to mitigate those risks. And then, at least you've done all the necessary steps to be safe. And if something bad does happen, hopefully your plan will be able to come into effect and you will survive that. So with that being said, the other big thing that happened in the month of March, and I want to thank all of the citizens who voted, came out. We had a great turnout in the town election, and we really appreciate that. And that was on 8 March. And of course, everything passed. The operating budget passed, so we're very grateful for that. Thank you very much. We're also grateful for everybody that voted for the construction grade drawings for the police station to be built on North Main Street at what we call the old water tower site on North Main. And so what that will allow us to do is move forward with construction grade drawings to get the building started, so we can go ahead and move forward with the warrant article next year for a new police station building. Now, we don't know exactly what that warrant article will be. I'm going to, rough guess, very rough, maybe 6.1, 6.2 million, but it will be bonded. So what does that mean? That means it's basically like a mortgage. Right now, municipal bond rates are very attractive. And some of the bond rates that I've seen, last month were somewhere just under 1%. So I don't know if that's what we'll be able to secure come next year, but they're very attractive, and I suspect that they'll probably stay that way for the relative period of time that we need to act on on getting this bonded, but I don't think they're going to stay that way forever. So with the bond rate, we're paying very little, if you will, as opposed to a warrant article. We're not going to be raising all $6.1 or $6.2 million right away like we would, say, a $300,000 or $400,000 warrant article. That's not the way this works. And of course, this will also be offset by any federal grants or gifts that the town receives, marked for that purpose to help defray the cost of that. So this is definitely a worthwhile project. The building we're in right now is somewhere between 48 and 50 years old. The police department and fire department have long outgrown that facility. The fire department needs to expand. This is the reason why we're going to be building a new police station. So this will be like one big game of Tetris, if you will. We'll build a new police station. The police department will move to that station. The fire department will move over and occupy the positions vacated by the police department, and then we'll begin the tedious tasks of renovating and repairing the fire station in a phased approach. That way, we can keep all the fire apparatus in a heated environment for the duration, and that is the most cost-effective plan moving forward. I think it's a very good plan. It's a very good idea, and this makes the most sense. It makes the most sense in the fact that it is the least disruptive and the most cost-effective. And I do realize and I do recognize that there are some people that perhaps don't want a police station on North Main Street for one reason or another. But the police department are going to be very good neighbors, and we will do everything we can to mitigate the sound and light noise. We will be dark skies compliant with our lighting. That's a town policy. So we will do everything that we possibly can to make sure the area looks nice, that we're good neighbors, and that we're keeping close tabs on our light and noise pollution. And if there are issues that need to be addressed, well, then that's what I'm here for. You come and see me, and then we'll look at ways to rectify those situations. So I think at the end of the day, this is good for everybody. This is certainly needed in the town of Wolfeboro. And if we want to take advantage of some of the recommendations that came out of the Attorney General's Committee on Police Reform, and we want to move toward things like body cams and clear and some other things that came out of these reform committee meetings, which I happen to agree with, then we need to do this. We can't continue to operate in the building that we're in. We just can't take advantage of the best practices for either police or fire science. So that's really all I have to say about that topic. Of course, we're always available to comment. Now I'm going to turn it over to my captain for an operational update. Captain?
Actually, I just want to go on a topic with the building and the location and stuff like that, and our operation that kind of goes all intertwined. Is basically, you got to remember our officers, and when we started this program, when we got into this positions, we got into the technology. He updated the technology within the department. We got those MBTs in our cruisers. It's like a little office in our cruiser. So the patrol officers can be on the road more often. I mean, you can't do every report in there. We all know that. I mean, it's not the most comfortable space-wise, but majority of the work can get done inside the patrol cruiser. So our officers are out on their roads. They're in their sectors. They're patrolling. They're being proactive. They're in the neighborhoods. They're not most likely sitting at the PD all day. That's not how we work. That's not our operation. That's not our design. Yes, the chief and I, we're at the PD majority of the day here and there, but we're out and about still patrolling. We're out and about doing meetings, but majority of our officers are out on the road in their sectors. They're not responding from the PD to a call for service due to the fact is that we're proactive. I mean, there's no other word to emphasize there. We're proactive. We're out on the road. We're out. They're looking at the speeds. They're making calls for service depending on which location they are. Once in a great while, people do come into the PD. I mean, more often than not. But we have a detective there that takes some calls for service right then and there. And they have us inside the PD, and then the officer may have to come back, especially weekends, to the PD to take that call for service when somebody comes in the lobby. But majority of the time, they're out on the roadway. I mean, I think we've emphasized that over and over again. So I just want to make sure that gets out there. The officers are in their sectors, they're out on the road, they're patrolling, they're proactive. So I think we hammered that enough, and I'll move on to the officers. So the month of April, it's an exciting time due to the fact we have a corporal's position that's going through an oral board actually right now in March. So we'll get that out there. We'll see who our next administrative corporal will be in our department. There's 3 of them going out for it right now, so it's an exciting time within the officers for promotions. So we'll get that name out there on our next meeting, who's going to be the next administrative corporal. So how that works, let me tell you how that works. So we have an oral board. I pretty much set it up so we have outside agencies. So this is a corporal's position. We try to go one up or even on rank structure. So I have 3 sergeants from other agencies to assist us for the day in doing the oral boards. So it's not us sitting there, as you can see, because we're here doing this process right now. So then the commissioners sit in with it too, and they go through the day with the oral boards. They usually take about an hour, 15, hour and a half. Each candidate goes through. There's questions already designed. They all get the same questions. There's essays that they have to answer to. There's usually 4 to 5 questions on an essay question. So that all goes into the decision making and also what they've done in their career. Goes all in the decision making for the next step, where the commissioners are the hiring, firing authority of our department. So they will appoint the next corporal into that position. So they make that decision as we move on through the day, which will most likely usually happens during a commissioners meeting on their monthly meeting, which we have one on tomorrow. So that's exciting for our officers. They're going through that process right now. With the dispatch, we're doing great. Call volume's steady on how it's moving. No issues moving forward. We're all full staff. So I got nothing with the operation there. I know in the month of April, as we get in, the warm weather starts coming closer, and that heavy foot of that speeding, the windows are down, the music is up. And next thing you know, people are just driving a little faster. It just happens. It's the way it's nature. So be careful of your speed out there. Be careful of the kids, the school, the buses. Take a peek, look down, look at your speed. The officers will be out there. Same thing. Don't use those electronic devices. I pretty much say that every month. You will get stopped. There's a really good chance you'll probably get a ticket or a citation on that. So you can't use that. You can't hold it and have the microphone on. It's got to be clipped. Use it through your audio device in your vehicle and go through there, or just wait. Nothing is that important. And pull over if it's really important. Pull over, get a nice safe spot. Pull over in a parking lot off the side of the road where there's enough room, and answer that call or respond to that text. So that's all I got for this month, and I'll give it back to the chief.
Thanks. So some additional good news. We heard from our partners in New Hampshire Highway Safety, and they were a subdivision under New Hampshire Department of Safety. And so we were awarded some additional grant money, about $7,500 more in grant money for patrols this coming summer. So we greatly appreciate them, and we're very appreciative of them looking out for Wolfeboro and taking our concerns to heart and providing us some additional grant funds. So you'll see the officers out there again doing walking patrols and speed enforcement patrols and so forth and so on. So what the captain said is very true. You know, when the warm spring and summer months are upon us. We all have a tendency to have a lead foot, right? So just pay attention to what you're doing. Leave a little bit sooner for your appointments. Realize this is Wolfeboro in the summertime, and we know it gets congested, right? We're a tourist area, so we rely on tourist dollars to help us get through the very long and cold winters. Having said that, one last thing I want to also say about the month of April is that there's going to be a lot of road debris on the road left over from the winter, right? This is going to come in the form of branches and leaves that have come down during the various storms. There's going to be a lot of sand, and on dry pavement, sand is not necessarily a enhancer to what we in the traffic crash reconstruction world call the coefficient of friction. Sand is actually very slippery. You slide on sand. So what you need to do when you do see sand on the roads, and there's going to be sand on the roads, it's left over from the winter from the highway department's putting it down for traction. Until they can get that cleaned up, you need to pay attention to that and go just a little bit slower, because your stopping will be impaired on sand and leaves and branch debris and wood and so forth and so on that have fallen from the trees. So that's it for me for Coffee and Connections with the Chief. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please join us next month for another segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief, and please stay tuned for your safety tip of the month. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye-bye. And hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I'm here with Dr. Wing, who had the veterinarian business, Winter Harbor, for many, many years, down off of North Main Street by Winter Harbor Vet. And interestingly enough, that's where I took my dogs to be treated, because it was the best treatment around, and I'm very appreciative for all the treatment my dogs did receive. Doctor, how have you been?
I've been great. I'm in retirement now, and I was happy to treat your dogs for many, many years.
You did.
Always happy to see you on the streets patrolling, because you make our community very safe and wonderful to live in. So.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And the good doctor also provided treatment to our police K9, so we're very grateful for that as well. And so my dogs are doing wonderful. I know you before the show, she was asking me about the dogs, and they're doing wonderful. I have two dogs. I have Snoopy, who's a half beagle, half blue tick hound. He was a rescue dog we brought up from Tennessee. And then Sophie, which is my wife's dog, which is a purebred Bichon, I believe is the correct pronunciation. Is that correct, Bichon?
Yes. So I've been interacting with Mike, the canine officer, on an occasion.
Yeah.
We rescued a dog off near Pleasant Valley Road maybe 6 months ago that was wandering loose and stopping all traffic everywhere.
That's right. I remember that.
But we found his owner, and everything turned out. It was a happy ending. So I'm still working indirectly.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very. Of course, we love our furry friends, and I'm a dog guy from way back, and but we're always helpful. We're always happy when we can be helpful and we can locate somebody's missing dog, because we know how important dogs are. And so, Doctor, I want to thank you for being on the show. Do you have any other questions or anything else you would like to ask?
Yeah, I do have a question about the impending new location of your police department office, because I do believe you guys need and should have the best and up to date.
Thank you.
But I'm curious as to if there are other locations being under consideration where to put it, because I'm a little bit concerned that the one that was noted in the voting was up on North Main Street, kind of in a residential area. And I know some of the people up there are concerned about increased activity and police sirens and lights, etc. So, and I feel like you guys deserve a bigger, better place.
Well, I appreciate that. So that's actually a fantastic question. Thank you very much for asking that. So I'll take them lockstep, and you keep track, and you make sure that I answer all of these correctly, or at least answer them. But so in terms of locations, yes, we looked at a wide variety of locations. We looked at the downtown. Well, first of all, we looked at staying where we're at presently, and I think that was. And we looked at that a couple of different times, and that was ruled out because it's cost prohibitive, or we feel it's cost prohibitive. We recognize that what we have to do to take advantage of the reforms in criminal justice and police science and best practices and so forth and so on. We know we need to move toward CALEA. We know the building is holding us back. We know we have to essentially have a new police station, but we're not looking for the Taj Mahal, right? And so the approximate cost, and these are very loose numbers right now because we don't know when we're actually going to get this thing built. But if you look at numbers right now, and costs may be high because of building materials are very high right now because of the COVID, supply chain issues and so forth. I suspect they'll come down a little, but right now we're looking at somewhere about 6.2 million for the construction of a new police station. Now we plan to bond that. But if we were to stay at the 251 South Main Street site, which is where we're at right now, which, by the way, is in a residential area, right? You're looking at something that's going to be between 12 million, that was a 2019 number, 12 million, and could be as high as 16 or 17 million, depending on the cost escalations and inflation and everything else. That's an awful lot of money to bond. Now, granted, that would be for both police, fire, and of course our dispatch center, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and I'm not sure that the voters would be very appreciative of that. But I just want to let you know, yes, we did look at that. We looked at moving, trying to buy the bank building, but we weren't fast enough. That would have been a great place. I think we're all in agreement. That would have been a fantastic place. But because we're a municipal entity, there's a process, like everything else. There's a process to raise money and to make purchases, and we have to comply with the laws. And unfortunately, our civilian counterparts, our private civilian counterparts, don't have those same restrictions, so they can move in very quickly. And that's what happened. The building was bought by Brewster Academy, and Brewster Academy has plans for that building. They're not going to donate it or give it. I know some people said, well, maybe they'll donate. No, they're not going to donate it to the Wolfeboro PD. That isn't going to happen. All right, so don't even think that. They have plans for that. And you know what? Quite honestly, Brewster Academy has a responsibility to look after Brewster Academy, right? So they're acting in their best interest, right? So we understand that. That's a non-issue. We looked at the property down at Clark Plaza, the vacant lot down at Clark Plaza. We thought that'd be a great location. That too is in a residential area, but it's also zoned for business. We looked at that. We really liked that area. We liked it a lot. That property owner will not sell to the town of Wolfeboro. He wants a commercial enterprise to go in there. That's his prerogative. We looked at the area along 109A out by the old Wickers building and over by where Winnipesaukee Lumber is in that area out there. I liked that area a lot. In fact, we looked at that a couple of times. In fact, I liked that area so much I actually went out and got out of my cruiser and walked around. It would be good. It would be very good. A couple of issues. First, it's a wetlands area, right? So there's significant remediation that has to go in to that. Okay, not a problem. That's going to add a little bit of money to the cost, but that's certainly something that's very doable. But the problem is, and we couldn't get away from it, is the storage facility. That is the storage facility up there for the propane and fuel oil storage tanks for Eastern Propane. You don't want to be putting a police station within a blast radius of the propane tanks and the fuel oil storage. That would be a really bad idea. You don't want to be putting the what I call the gem of the Wolfeboro Police Department, which is our communications facility. And it's quite a capable center. Our communications facility is quite capable and provides us an awful lot of capability and capacity to do a number of different things. You don't want to risk that by putting it within a blast radius. But, Doctor, just to let you know, I liked it so much, we looked at building a blast barrier to see if that could be done. And it just becomes, and of course we can build anything, right? I mean, we know that. We can build anything. Engineers are very talented men and women. But it becomes cost prohibitive. So that location ruled itself out.
Did you look at anything along 28? Like
We looked at we did we looked at we liked the 7-Eleven what I call the 7-Eleven location, which is where the old substation is right now. And again, that's a wetlands area, so you're talking some additional soil remediation that has to happen. Doable. The water sewer line hookup, because the water sewer lines don't run out that far. So that becomes problematic. And then lastly, we determined that the building lot was just not going to be sufficient. The size of the lot out there is just not going to be sufficient for our needs. It's just a little too small. So that got ruled out.
what about where the Bittersweet restaurant used to be?
So we did not look at the Bittersweet restaurant. That, as far as I can tell, that is not for sale, or at least it wasn't at that time. I don't know. Is it for sale now?
I don't know, but somebody's in there putting building construction, so I think something's going on there.
Right, but I don't know if they're interested in selling the property. So I think therein lies the issue. So when we began looking at everything, the one site we kept coming back to was the North Main Street site. The town owns that property. We don't have to buy it. We're only a mile from the compact portion of town. We're 1 mile, 1 minute, if you will, by vehicle. In terms of activity, what the captain was saying earlier, and that's a great question about activity, unlike the fire department, which would not be with us, right? This would be a police station only. My officers are already out on the road. They have mobile data terminals in their cruisers, which is where they do a lot of their work. So my officers are in the neighborhoods, they're out on the roads. They come in for the beginning of their shift, they come in at the end of their shift. If they have a prisoner or if they need to secure evidence or whatever the case may be, they do come in. And then as soon as they get that done, the prisoner is either processed and released or processed and taken to jail. The evidence is secured. They're back out on the road. So they're already out on the road. They're not going to be coming screaming in and out of the police station with lights and sirens going. Now, occasionally there may be a need if we have officers at the station that an officer does leave. Sure, that's going to happen, and he may be going to a traffic crash or an incident that requires him to get there very quickly, or for her to get there very quickly. But by and large, they're already out in the streets, out on the road. The town, pardon me. The town has a policy for new construction, and we will comply with that. We will be dark skies compliant. And there are steps we can take to help mitigate the noise. We can do plantings and trees and vegetation that can help block the light and help block and absorb the noise. And that will be part of the planning process. So certainly we want to be good neighbors, and we want to take into considerations, but right now this is the most cost-effective location. Now, if something else comes along our way, some other piece of property that all of a sudden just becomes perfect, we can lift and shift. We can lift and shift, and we will. We will, and we are sensitive to those concerns of the citizens. So I like the way our state representative said it earlier, and that would be Brody DeShays. He said, let's not let perfect get in the way of good. I don't think there's any perfect site out there. There are good sites and maybe better sites, but I don't think the perfect exists. And right now, this is the best we have in front of us.
How big is that lot, and how big of a lot do you need?
So I need about 1 acre, and that lot is about 1 acre. So that's why it's 2 stories. It's 2 stories. We would prefer, and there are advantages to their 2-story building versus a ranch-style building, and there are advantages to a ranch-style over a 2-story. So there's pros and cons to both sides. They're both about the same amount of money to build. So there's no real cost savings there. But we need about 1 acre.
Well, I'm hoping that you'll be able to find a spot that's more perfect, out on maybe 28. I was unfortunate to hear about the propane problem back on 109A because it seemed like always that Wickers old plant was a perfect place to put some municipal buildings.
I think that is a good location, but you got a lot of fuel being stored out there. But we like that. We really did like that area. And like I said, I went back and took a look at that a couple of times, and we all did. Oh, we also, one last thing, we did look at also land out on Filterbed Road area. Yeah, we did, and therein lies a couple of problems. You know, we'd have to do some major road construction that I think would really make the project cost prohibitive. Number one, number two, I always thought that putting a police station off a major thoroughfare is really your best bet. You don't really want to be burying a police station in a neighborhood, so to speak. Because it makes it difficult to get to and from. That's the same reason that we essentially ruled out Laner Street areas. Well, one of the parcels of property we looked at on Laner Street was already identified in the master plan for something else. And then the other area we looked at, the old electric building, the lot was too small. Yeah, it's very small, yeah. So remember, it's not just the building, but you need the apron for parking. You need an area for impound lot for seized vehicles, so forth and so on. There's a lot that goes into a police station.
So I think Route 28 is perfect. Maybe put the word out. You can get somebody to sell you some property.
Well, they're like I said, if a better piece of property comes along, we're definitely interested in that. And of course, again, the other thing too is cost. We're trying to balance the cost and the need.
Okay, well, I'm glad I got my word in, Dean, and I appreciate that you are looking at all the angles for this project and keeping everyone's interests at heart.
Yes, we are, and thank you for bringing it up, and because your points are clearly not without merit. I mean, we did look at all of those. And at the end of the day, we know we're not going to be able to please everybody. But unfortunately, as you said, yes, at this point, we need to do this. We need to build a new station, and we need to fix the fire station and remediate those issues, and moving forward. It's just the right thing to do.
Okay, well, I'll trust you wholly and wish you luck in this project. And I think you'll be able to make most people happy in the end. I'm hoping that anyway.
We want to, and that's what we're striving to do. We're really striving to make everybody happy as best we can. So, Doctor, thank you very much for being on the show.
You're welcome. You're a great ambassador, Dean.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is Chief Rondo saying goodbye. Thank you for tuning in to another segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief. Again, stay tuned. There's a lot of great information that comes out on these shows. We're really grateful to all the citizens of Wolfeboro for approving the warrants that were on the budget. And we're looking forward to another great year here in Wolfeboro. So thank you very much. Until next time out there, everybody, happy Easter and be safe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, welcome back to Coffee and Connections with the Chief, and this is your safety tip of the month. So as I said earlier, the month of April, the snows have receded. We may get some late season snow squalls, but we know the snow is not sticking around. What is sticking around until our very talented highway crews, both the state and municipal level, can get out there and get the roads cleaned up, there's going to be a lot of blowdown and storm debris from the various winter storms. There's going to be a lot of sand and other debris on the roadway, and that actually makes traveling a little bit more treacherous because that acts doesn't act as an enhancer for coefficient of friction. That's the physics term that would describe what happens when rubber meets pavement, and it helps you to stop. Right? That's the applied physics piece of how braking on automobiles works. Sand actually works as a barrier, and the vehicle slides when it tries to stop. So when you have sand on the roadway, just recognize the fact that you're not going to be able to stop as fast as if it were on bare pavement. So pay attention to that and just drive a little bit slower. The other thing is that there's going to be branches and leaves and debris and vegetative matter that is going to be on the roadway, blow down from the storms. And again, that acts as an inhibitor between the rubber on the tire and the asphalt on the road. So again, recognize the fact that when you see that, just slow down, because if something does happen, you're not going to have the same traction, the coefficient of friction that you would if you applied the brake and wanted to stop relatively quickly. And along those lines, also be mindful that April school vacation for us here in New Hampshire is in the last week of the month, and the children will be out playing and enjoying the spring weather after a long winter season. They'll be riding their bikes and playing baseball. So again, be mindful. The kids are going to be out there. The roads are still probably going to be a little dirty from the winter, from the sand, until the highway crews can get out there and get all that police stuff. So just drive safely. So that was your safety tip of the month. Thank you very much for tuning in to Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I'm Chief Dean Rondeau, and I will see you next month. And please, everybody, be safe. Thank you very much.